All right, so today we are diving deep into the words of two ancient prophets, Hosea and Joel. Now, their messages get right to the heart of two of the most powerful forces in our lives, the complete and utter confusion of love and the gut punch of unexpected disaster. So let's jump in and see what these ancient voices have to say about navigating our own lives today.
Wow, that's a pretty bold way to kick things off, isn't it? But it gets right to a massive problem. I mean, think about it. We are drowning in stories about love. In movies, in songs, you name it. But so much of what we're being sold, it's not actually love. It's something else entirely.
So before we can even start talking about real love, we've got to clear the air. We need to take a hard look at all the fake, distorted versions of love that are cluttering up our minds. And make no mistake, these aren't just harmless little fantasies. Oh no, they have very real consequences.
So what's the big deal, right? Why does it matter if our love stories are really about lust or power or something else? Well, it turns out these fake stories don't just set us up for a broken heart. They can actually break our entire sense of what's real.
You see, the price we pay for this fake love is just incredibly high. It's not about a few bad dates. This stuff messes up our friendships, our families. And it goes even deeper than that. It gives us a totally warped picture of God. If the fundamental truth of the universe is that God is love, but our definition of love is completely broken, well then we're basically trying to navigate the world with a broken compass.
So how in the world do we fix this broken compass? Well, this is where the prophet Hosea steps in. And he doesn't just give us a long lecture on true love. No, his entire life becomes the lesson, a kind of story that's acted out for everyone to see.
And this is the key idea, the lived parable. Just think about that for a second. It's one thing to tell a story. It is a completely different thing to be the story. Hosea's own life became the message, and it was designed to show us a truth about God's love that, frankly, words just can't capture.
And this story is, well, it's absolutely astonishing. First, God tells Hosea to marry a woman who is known for being promiscuous. Then, he's told to start a family with her. And the whole point of all this personal pain and public shame? It was to become a living, breathing picture of how God loves his people, unconditionally, relentlessly, even when they're totally unfaithful.
This right here is the heart of it. This isn't some passive, feel-good, sentimental love. It is an active, pursuing love. It's a love that isn't scared of our mess, that literally goes after us when we are at our absolute worst, and it just does not give up. It just shatters all of our flimsy, romantic ideas.
So what Hosea's lived-out story does is act like a powerful cure. It just cuts through all the noise, all the lies, all the crazy ideas we have about what love is supposed to be. It completely resets our understanding so we can finally start to get a grip on the reality of a God who loves us this fiercely.
Okay, so that's the personal confusion of love. But what happens when the chaos isn't just inside our own heads, but it's all around us? What happens when a disaster hits an entire community?
You know, this is a question that every single one of us has to face at some point. A sudden illness, a natural disaster, a huge personal loss. These things can feel like the ground has just vanished from under our feet. And in that chaos, we scramble to find some kind of meaning. And often, our idea of God is the first casualty.
When a crisis hits, our minds just go into overdrive. We start jumping to all kinds of conclusions, right? Maybe God has just abandoned us, or he's punishing us for something we did years ago, or maybe he's just weak and can't help, or he's holding a grudge. We jump to these conclusions out of fear. It's like a panic-driven theology, and it almost never helps us see things clearly.
And it's right in those moments of total panic and confusion that the prophet Joel starts to speak. His whole job is to stand up right in the middle of a disaster and bring some clarity about who God is and how he actually works in the world.
So Joel uses something that's happening right then and there, a devastating plague of locusts. I mean, we're talking about a massive agricultural disaster. This was something that threatened the very survival of his people. It was real, it was terrifying, and it was happening right now.
But Joel doesn't just talk about bugs. He takes this natural disaster and he blows it up onto a huge screen. He compares the swarm of locusts to a massive, invading army. And he does this to get everyone's attention, to make them realize this is not just some random fluke of nature. There's something much deeper going on here.
And this brings us to the core of Joel's message. He says that a catastrophe isn't just pointless suffering. It's a lever. Think of it like a tool God uses to pry our lives loose from our comfy routines, from our self-obsession, from our sin, setting us free to actually pay attention to what really matters.
What an incredible idea. Joel is saying that a disaster doesn't actually introduce anything new to our world. All it does is rip away the veil of business as usual and show us the moral reality that was already there the whole time. Suddenly, we're forced to face the real-world consequences of our choices.
Okay, so we've got Hosea's radical, pursuing love, and we've got Joel's clarifying disaster. How do these two things possibly fit together? What's the connection between God's relentless love and his clarifying judgment?
So you've got these two very different approaches, but they're both tackling the same problem, our tendency to live in a fantasy world. Hosea deals with our illusions about love by living out this shocking story of pursuit. And Joel, he deals with our illusions about life itself by using a real-world disaster to reveal the hidden reality of our choices.
And this right here is the big takeaway. Whether it's the shocking love of Hosea or the sobering judgment of Joel, both are designed to do the exact same thing. They strip away our illusions. They force us to stop living in our own little self-centered bubbles and confront the world as it really is and God as he really is.
What's so urgent and honestly so hopeful about Joel's message is that it's not actually about doom. It's about opportunity. The crisis, the so-called judgment, it's a wake-up call. It's a chance for us to reorient our lives right now while there's still time to live well, instead of waiting until the very end.
And that really brings us to the final thought to leave you with. If Joel is right, if our daily decisions are creating a sort of hidden moral universe, then the question for every one of us becomes pretty challenging. What kind of reality are your choices, the small, routine ones you make every single day, what kind of reality are they building for you?